Hello students. After Look Back in Anger, we are to start with Bernard Shaw's St. John. In this first lesson on Bernard Shaw, we are to briefly look into Bernard Shaw as a dramatist. Bernard Shaw as a dramatist. So Bernard Shaw was born in Dublin in 1856 and he died at St. Lawrence in November 1950. His death left a vacuum in the literary world that was not to be filled for several decades to come. He received the prestigious Nobel Prize in 1925 for literature. Bernard Shaw was a dramatist, a novelist, a philosopher, a Fabian socialist. That is, he belonged to the Fabian Society, which was a British socialist society. It was founded in 1883. And this society, it followed or it advanced the principles of democratic socialism through Victorian ideals of duty, honesty, hard work, respectability, etc. But it did not follow or it did not take the course of violence. That is, the Fabian Society, it wanted to establish a democratic socialist society, but not taking the course of violence, but not following violence. And Bernard Shaw was a member of this society. He was a literary critic, a theologian, a musical expert, and whatnot. So a multifaceted personality he had. He has been often misunderstood because he is a master of paradox. He was an aggressive and irresponsible paradox monger, as R.A. Scott James calls him. That is, he loved holding strange yet dangerous opinions, and he deliberately propagated them. Evans, one of the critics, says about him, to his own generation he has been a great figure, and he has given more delight in the theatre to the world at large than any man of his time. His limitations are obvious. He does not touch tragedy, possibly because he has a certain physical fastidiousness, which amounts almost to a fear of any world which cannot be controlled by his own thought. The brilliance of his dialogues, that is, his dialogues, they are brilliantly contrived, they are brilliantly devised, and they are full of wit. So the brilliance of his dialogues sometimes leads him beyond the bounds of dramatic propriety, so that the stage becomes a hustings. Hustings, that is, it becomes almost like an election campaign where points and counterpoints are very amicably made, they are presented in order to entertain the audience. So he has kept romance and colour out of his plays deliberately, and so failed to give the visual artists of the theatre, the designers and costume makers, the opportunities of collaboration which they would have delighted to possess. So this is what he is criticized for. It is churlish to insist too sternly on this side of the balance sheet for one who has given so much delight and to whom every man of his generation is to some degree indebted. That is, it would be rude or mean on our part to criticize Bernard Shaw on this point, because he has delighted and he has entertained almost everybody of his generation, and he has been acknowledged as a great dramatist. We need to acknowledge him as a great dramatist, and we need not pay much attention to this shortcoming of his. The merits of his achievement can fortunately be studied continually in the revivals of his work, and it would seem that many of his plays will enter into the permanent repertory of the English theatre. That is, most of his plays, they would be delighting and entertaining the audiences in future also. T.R. Barnes, he quotes Shaw saying, "What we wanted as the basis of our plays was not romance, but a really scientific natural history. And this basis was to be arrived at by thinking, there is flatly no future for any drama without music, except the drama of thought. So his dramas, they are dramas of ideas. Certain ideas are being propagated through his dramas. The exaltation of the intellect at the expense of the imagination. In the insistence on scientific method and on thought lies the reason why so much of the well-intentioned, thought-provoking, socially directed drama of the Chauvian period seems so dead today. This, all his dramas, they are well-intentioned, thought-provoking, socially directed dramas. That is, he takes up a problem, a topical issue, and he discusses the problem and he tries to find out a solution to it. But he does it in a very scientific manner, through certain ideas, through certain discussion that he carries forward in his dramas. But there is laxity of emotions, and that's why it seems as if his dramas, though they were well intentioned, thought provoking, still they seem to be dead today. Shaw claims to be in the tradition of Molière. My business as a classic writer of comedies, he said, is to chasten morals with ridicule, and the part of his technique was to reintroduce to the drama long rhetorical speeches in the manner of Molière. There can be no doubt that his plays amused, stimulated, exasperated, that is, people were even annoyed, they got angry because there were so intense ideas, so intense discussion in his plays that they provoked certain people. Very many contemporaries of his, they were even teased and annoyed to a great extent. That no play since Congreve's, as Eliot opines, has more pointed and eloquent dialogue, that he was a man of great intelligence and immense seriousness of purpose. That is, his dramas, they were dramas with a purpose. He had certain intention in his mind when he was presenting a problem in his dramas. Harold J. Lasky says about him, he has sacrificed emotion to intellect, intuition to syllogism, that is, logic. In all his plays, even in St. John, he is the chief character and he always gets the best of the argument. So mostly he himself is the spokesperson and he himself is venting out his arguments, his ideas through the chief character in his plays. So all his plays are disquisitory plays. Even St. John has a large disquisitory element. That is, elaborately he discusses on a particular subject in his dramas. So other such similar opinion about Shaw is, he sees men as ideas walking. He sees art as a conflict of ideas. 1,000 lovable, intimate, humorous, ridiculous traits he sees around him, and he makes use of them. He makes a pastiche of them for his purposes. So a variety he presents before us in his dramas. They do not result in the comic vision. They do not result in a tragic vision. It is a publicist's vision. That is, he is a kind of a propagandist. He is publicizing things. Bernard Groome has to say about him, Shaw may be regarded as a popular entertainer, or as a serious thinker, or as a brilliant dramatist. He is all three. So we are entertained by his plays, his dramas, they are thought-provoking, and he is a brilliant dramatist. He is brilliant as a dramatist. But his ideas are the life of his work. It is they that sparkle in the prose of his prefaces. So in his prefaces, he gives the ideas. that he wants to propound or he wants to propagate, and give point to the dialogues of his plays. So in his prefaces he propounds, or he gives the ideas that he wants to propagate, he wants to propound, and in his plays, through dialogues, he is trying to establish those ideas that he wants to, or that he has propagated through his prefaces. So he is a teacher who hates to be dull. He is a critic of life first and a playwright on the second. He is a critic. His play dramas, they are criticism of life. His power to represent characters has many limitations though, and his men and women are often the mouth speaks of ideas rather than creations of flesh and blood with emotions. So his characters are not full of emotions, they are mouthpieces of ideas that he wants to propagate, or that he wants to spread through them. I write plays, says Shaw quite clearly, with the deliberate object of converting the nation to my opinions. So he wants that everybody should rely on, or they should be converted to his opinions. They should believe in his ideas, his way of thinking. So coming to the realism of Shaw, what kind of realism is his? He claims to be one of those realists who have the courage to face the truth and portray what they feel. He is a bragger of ideals. It is to be remembered that Shaw is not a realist in the sense of E. Zola and Galsworthy. Zola and Galsworthy, they preach what they see and thus give an honest and photographic picture. So they see what they see, they give a photographic and an honest portraiture of reality. But Shaw differs slightly. His realism is touched with metaphysics. He goes to the roots of evils, wrong traditions and conventions of society. Whatever traditions are wrong in society, whatever conventions are wrong in society, whatever evils are rooted in society, he wants to look into the causes and reasons behind those evils, in order that he can be in a position to eradicate them. But it is not enough. He seeks the reason and points out that the whole structure of society is based on raw ideals. Other realists are painters of phenomena, while Shaw is a seeker of reality behind phenomena in a dialectic method. That is, he makes discussions, he goes into prolonged disquisitory sessions in order that he can bring about the causes and reasons lying behind those realistic situations, in order that they can be changed, or a certain kind of change can be brought about in society, eradicating those evils. So the most important characteristic of Shaw's realism is that it is absolutely unromantic and unsentimental. Shaw has tried to deal his dramas on what he calls a genuinely scientific natural history. So nothing can be more alien to scientific history than romance, and that's why he rejects romance in his dramas. Shaw's dramas are almost devoid of sentiments. There's no place for emotions and sentiments in his dramas. This distinguishes his plays not from the dramas of genuine romanticists like Shakespeare, but also from those of his own masters, Ibsen and Strindberg. The realists. None of his men speak with the passion of a Gustav Moore, nor has his women flamboyance, the Greek emotional fervor of a Nora or a Mrs. Alving. In his study of the world, he has discovered that sentiment is always centered on the wrong theme. And that's why he rejects sentiments. Most of our sentiments are based on property and inequality. These are diseased sentiments, he says, which Shaw has rejected as unworthy of serious consideration, and that's why he doesn't pay much of an attention to them in his dramas. His dramas do not have a place for them. It has been urged that Shaw's characters are too intellectual, that they are too living, that they do not grow deep into the human heart. These criticisms are derived from romantic canons. They have no meaning when applied to Shaw, who touches instincts rather than sentiments. His real originality consists in his distinction between emotion and intellect. R.A. Scott James also has to say about his realism. He was concerned with the problems of the contemporary society and its maladjustments to modern conditions and needs. That is, the contemporary society is not able to handle the conditions, the modern conditions and their needs, with the absurdities and irrationalities which it inherited and persisted in. So modern contemporary society was full of absurdist ideas, and it was irrational as well. And with these absurdities and irrationalities, they are still persisting in, they are still continuing with, and with the application to it, the ideas which he thought would make it wholesome. That is, the contemporary society could be made wholesome, could be could remove its absurdities and irrationalities and become more rational and a better place to live in.